why did I decide to do this? It was what was going through my mind with Iggy's channel. No, I mean, you know, it was a bit of a strange moment because you get in your swim shorts, you've got Vaseline under your arms, back of your neck, that's it, goggles, hat, and this vast amount of ocean, and you jump in, and I tell you what I thought was, I was about 200 metres away from the beach, and I swam 200 metres to the start line, and I remember thinking, this was a long distance, 200 metres, when I used to swim as a kid. I would never have raced this, and I'm swimming it to start this swim. Now this is the starting point, so I get out the water, and I'm on the beach, and I look out, and all I can see is ocean and no land. And I thought, oh my God, when did I agree to do this? I'm going to swim to another country. This is a bit strange. When did this happen? And what I did through training is I tried to teach myself to always think positive. While you're thinking positive, you can't think negative. So while you think you're going to achieve something, you can't think you're not going to achieve it. So I tried not to let any negative thought manifest. And I got some support with hypnotherapy with that, just to understand how to focus the mind. So when I went into the water and started, there was this shiver down my spine of this journey that took around about 15 to 18 months from nothing. And now I was about to take on arguably one of the toughest endurance sports in the world. And I had to suddenly just try not to let the nerves overpower me and just think, look, it's just swimming in the sea. You've done it lots of times now. You'll be okay. It's just like being on holiday. So I was trying to get back to that childhood, the love for the ocean. And even remember starting, and a few times I'd look at the boat and actually breathe the other side, because the other side there's no boat, there's no pressure. It's just me and swimming, which I love to do. Or I grew to re-love, let's say. So yeah, it was a bit of an epic moment. Those first couple of hours, realizing you've just started and you're swimming away from the beach, it was, yeah, a bit of a shiver down the spine, knowing what's in front of me and this big challenge, and I wanted it so badly. I put so much effort into it. Meant so much. I learned a lot about myself and about the mind, because when you are in the middle of the ocean, even training, and it's you and it's the elements, there's nothing else but to swim and think. There's nothing around you. You know, I remember first starting off and thinking about work. What am I going to do for work the next week? How's my week going to plan? And that turned into being COLD, because it had like a negative connotation, which meant that the temperature hit me. And then I would think about the distance I was going to swim, and that would turn into the temperature hitting me. So what I understood is certain thoughts meant that the elements would manifest around me and sort of punish me. So then I made it simple. I started thinking about what it would feel at the end of the swim, and people hugging you and celebrating together and achieving this massive dream, and you make it something really real, which is what I learned to understand that. I also then thought, it's like feeding yourself with good food or bad food. Before, I always passed off, like everybody, I did a job sometimes that I really wasn't happy with, and I would say, oh, what a nightmare, which I never use that word anymore, or really strong words that sometimes you don't actually feel that way, but it's easier to go, oh, terrible day. And have you really had a terrible day? So for me, when I'm swimming, I thought, anything like this, the ocean punishes you. You let the ocean in just a little bit and it will test you beyond your limits. I started seeing the ocean as a person, as like a best friend that we could get on well with, or your worst enemy, or with best friends you fall out, don't you? And with training, it was that relationship that I would be under a lot of pressure. I would be kind of suffering at times, but I knew there was a positive outcome at the end of it. So I would try and be grateful. It sounds hard when you're suffering and shivering, and I've been through some extreme times. The very first open water swim that I did was in 9 degrees. I got hypothermia, had 5 paramedics, couldn't remember where I lived, barely could remember my name, and went to bed with 4 fleeces that night and hoped I woke up. And then the next day, I was like, okay, I've got a choice here. Either I give this up as a bad job and I was never going to be capable, or I understand the sport more, what's entailed, and really mentally try and tune into it. So for me, make it simple. While you're thinking you're warm, you can't be thinking that you're not warm. COLD, the word that I disconnected, don't say anymore. I didn't say anything that was negative because of that association with work meant that I was COLD. And I just told myself, I'm warm, hot. I would swim to different versions of warm, hot, warm, because while I was thinking I was warm, that's a positive statement. I can't be thinking I'm not warm. I would go strong power winner. I mean, as human beings, we don't want to say these things out loud because it's a bit embarrassing, like it's an ego thing, but actually in your head, you can say what you want, and if it helps you. So mentally, by saying these strong, powerful words, these positive affirmations, as I say, I learned that through who's become a very good friend of mine, a hypnotherapist. He gave me a few tips, and I thought, this is fantastic. And again, as simple as, why are you thinking positive? You can't think negative. Why you think about you're going to achieve this big goal? You can't think you're not going to achieve it. Why I think my arms are strong? They're going to stay strong. Why I think that I've got like an engine, a propeller on my feet that's flying me across, and the ocean's tipped forward and a loved one is pulling me across. Anything that helps you move forward. And the biggest thing is, I always thought, whatever happens, am I ever going to be too tired that I can't move my arm? And I decided, no, I'm never going to be that bad that I can't physically move my arms. So all I have to do is just keep putting one arm in front of the other and I'll get to my destination. The ocean can't keep me out there for weeks, months and years. So at some point, if the tide hits me, the tide will change. If the currents hit me, currents will change. If I'm sick lots of times, at some point, vomiting will end. And as long as I keep moving the arms, I will achieve my goal. You know, it started with English Channel. It was all about the English Channel. There was never going to be a second one. This was the goal. This was On a Clear Day, the movie. I was Frank. You know, everything manifests into this in this one swim. And then when I did it, I thought, I might be all right at this. I quite fancy doing another one. But the problem was I had a shoulder issue. I'd had to see, well, mentally I tried to overcome the pain, saw a hypnotherapist, worked on myself. If I did 6 hours on a Saturday, 5 hours on a Sunday, I had to have the whole week off at times because I was in so much pain, loads of swelling, lots of issues. And so I decided, I looked up at the sky and said, ocean gods, please give me this one swim and I'll never do this sport again. That was my deal with the ocean gods. Could put on my gravestone, Adam swam the channel, he didn't sell kettles and toasters, you know, whatever. I wanted to put that marker down. So it was about that one swim. And then on the way back on the boat, I thought, yeah, I know my shoulder's bad. And at that point, adrenaline had kicked out and my shoulder was very, very sore. Anyway, what happened was I had a scan on my shoulder, didn't show a problem, and I spent about 15 months trying to rehabilitate. And it turns out I had a ruptured bicep tendon. He said to me, Adam, it's been there for a good 18 months because it's attached to another tendon, and you've swam the English Channel with one arm effectively, the other arm wasn't working properly. So he asked me, he said, do you ever want to swim again? And I said, yeah, I want to swim from Spain to Morocco. And he said, no, I don't mean Spain to Morocco. I mean, do you ever want to swim again, like leisure? I mean, leisure. I said, well, Spain to Morocco is leisure for me. And we laughed, and he said, no, it's really in a bad state, but I'll fix it. I'll do my best to fix it, and then we'll have a second operation. So that's what happened, but I've still got the report that says around about 65% fit. Partial success, it said. Operation was a partial success. So by saying that, I knew I had to do something extreme, and when I wanted to do Gibraltar Straits, the reason the next swim came into it was I decided to rebuild the way I swam, and I created this brand new technique, which then gave me hope to go on to the next one, which was Spain to Morocco, and then continue on to do Ocean 7, the toughest 7 ocean swims in the world. That only came to 7 after I swam the second one, Gibraltar Straits, because I thought, okay, well, if I've done the second one, maybe I can do another 5. And this new challenge, which was seen as the ocean equivalent of the 7 summits, and I think a lot of articles have put it down as the #1 toughest challenge on the planet, because You have got, there's no walls, you're in seriously deep water, you can't touch the side, you can't wear a wetsuit, it's just you alone in the ocean, and whatever happens to you out there, if you touch the side and want to come out, the swim's over. So you imagine you've got jellyfish, you've got deli jellyfish, you've got sharks, and a lot of nasty things in the water. And you're dealing with the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic, Mediterranean, so the different oceans. And there are sharks out there and all the things that are dangerous. And this came down to various different challenges. One is extreme cold, another is deadly marine life, another is strongest currents in the world. In other words, Tsugaru Channel, for example, 18 miles on paper, but the strongest currents in the world crossing each other. To give you an idea of some of these swims, Tsugaru Channel, they created a tunnel because over 1,200 people have died from drowning with ferries capsizing because it gets so rough there. So they actually dug an underground tunnel to cross it, so you don't have to cross it in a ferry because it can get that rough. You have New Zealand Cook Strait, which separates New Zealand North to South Island. You have more juvenile shark great whites cross through there than anywhere else in the world. That's where they migrate, they cross through that channel. So that's Cook Strait, extreme cold, very windy. A lot of times ferries are cancelled because of how rough it can get. You've got the North Channel, Ireland to Scotland, which is extreme cold. You've got lion's mane jellyfish, which is the biggest jellyfish in the world, tentacles up to 120 feet long. If they sting you enough times, they'll hospitalise you and can kill you. And you've also got that cold. I've personally never seen as many jellyfish in one sea in my life as the Ireland to Scotland swim. And then you've got Catalina Channel, which is off Los Angeles, an island off Los Angeles, Pacific Ocean, shark-infested waters. You start at night, you swim 6 hours in the dark, where you can't hardly see your hands in front of you. And again, you've got that thought of what's underneath me, or try not to have that thought. And then you've got the English Channel that we talked about, and Gibraltar Straits. And the other one is Molokai Channel, which is in Hawaii, Molokai to Oahu, 26 miles, the biggest one. Some are warmer waters, but then you get the deadly marine life. Some are extreme cold, which will potentially give you severe hypothermia, and then you have other things in there. So they're all around about 20 miles, but not necessarily 20 miles in a straight. It's never a straight swim, so you end up doing, in some cases, twice as much because the currents and tides can change and keep you out there. The ocean decides your fate, not you.